Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all well. Cheers. That's become our new little tradition. Hope everyone's doing well. The little shorter edition today because for the first time all year, I am going to have to plow a driveway, which we haven't had to do all year, but it definitely came yesterday. I did get home though. That was good. That was in doubt for a portion of last night's game. This weekend is the Sloan Sports Conference taking place at MIT. It's where all the stat geeks get together. They webcast most of it. A lot of different presentations go on. For those of you that have kind of followed the stats world with me and begun to understand it and found it interesting and all those kind of things, I would strongly suggest a Twitter hashtag of SSAC to follow what is going on. It takes place this weekend. There are a tremendous amount of live webcasts of conferences, and then they usually put up versions of it, and you probably could see an awful lot of cool stuff, geeky stuff, definitely, but cool stuff. So hashtag SSAC, and frankly, there will be a lot on that hashtag because this is a pretty Twitter heavy group. I am on the verge of sneezing and can't figure out how to not. It's going neither direction. Let's see. All right, maybe that'll solve something. Uh, let me. I always try to start with a big picture item before we dig into last night's game. Tip-offs have been easier this year because it seems as though every night has a last night's game. The amount of games we're playing, and I just want to point out, just think about it for a second if you're a Rockets fan. I mean, we're obviously really struggling on the road, and Houston has been better than we've been on the road, but that was a 21 and 14 team last night that is now 6 and 11 on the road that walked in against a Jazz team that had lost 9 of 11 and got waxed. Got absolutely waxed. So occasionally you got to take a moment and think about it kind of from their perspective. And realize when we make our comments, we're the only ones. Well, no, not really, because here's the Rockets, who, if when the night had started, would have been a home playoff team, and they put on that kind of performance last night, which left obviously a lot to be desired if you're Rocket fans. Jazz were very good, led by Devin Harris, who is wrapped up a month of February where he was very good. His last 6 games, he's shooting at about 65% now, over 50% from three. I mean, really an incredible 6 game stretch, but he turned it around. And that again, I think really as we're learning who Tyrone Corbin is, I think this is a sign of some good things of the experience of Tyrone Corbin, where he gave Devin a chance to work himself out of his problems. He benched him a few times. He let Earl finish some games. He then tried to bring him back and regain confidence in him. But the big picture knowledge that Ty took into that, staying on big picture, is that he looked at his roster and it was pretty clear. Devin Harris is going to have to play for me. I don't have other options. I don't have other guys out there that are going to make plays that are going to be our starting point guard. And as much as, the easy thing, well, Earl's playing better, start him. Earl's a backup point guard and a very good one. But you're not going to be able to get Devin Harris as suddenly if you bench Devin, you probably would have lost him for the year. And Ty managed that really well. He reduced his minutes and tried not to humiliate him and kept Devin engaged. And in turn, Devin's playing really a great deal better. I mean, really pushing the tempo. I had a nice conversation with him in his feature interview, and hopefully has kind of renewed his love for the game. I think that's what looked like he was missing more than anything. And the same would probably go for CJ, who, honestly, I'm probably just, this is terrible. I mean, I'm just not moved by his performance last night. I mean, I've seen this story before, and the end result numbers have always been the same, and that's exactly what he does, is that he has these nights where he goes crazy, and he was great. But I till there's some level of consistency, I guess I'm not. I guess I'm not that moved by it. It was great to see. I root for him, but you understand what I'm saying. But they're still even there. Ty has probably deserves some credit because he has certainly given an awful lot of leash to CJ. Certainly much more than I ever would have. Last night was interesting because the pick and roll defense against Kyle Lowry was really, really good, and here it was just 4 or 5 games ago. It was atrocious. Now Lowry hits a bunch of threes in that game, and so maybe when I dig back in the film at some point this afternoon, I will discover that the defense wasn't as bad against Lowry on the pick and roll as I thought. But that was my memory of it. That's why I always like to kind of believe in going to look at the film. But what I saw last night is I thought the defense was just a lot better. Ron Boone pointed out how well the point guards were playing, and so did Jeff Hornacek at halftime, pointing out that they didn't give any room to Lowry for crossover dribbles and be able to make a bunch of running starts. I thought Favors was fabulous shading the pick and roll. There was a play where Burks and Favors trapped in the corner. There was another play where Lowry comes around, and again, I always get nervous when we remember the single plays because sometimes you miss the whole game. But there was another play where Lowry tries to push it. The Jazz string it out well enough so then he goes on the search dribble around the baseline, and he's just suffocated by the length. There were times where I saw Favors. I just think Favors, the difference 3 inches makes. The old joke that Scotty Gerard and I had all off season. But the difference 3 inches makes I thought was enormous last night by Favors. That when he's on the floor, he's just that much longer, and it's very difficult for a team to throw over him. Uh, Not having Paul on the floor last night, very similar to that Philadelphia game, where not having Jefferson on the floor seemed to kind of unleash this team from sitting still and not moving, and the ball moved, and it was Jefferson did well. And again, it leads to the question of whether that combination of Jefferson and Millsap works. And it's not a question of Jefferson or Millsap that, I'm just picking one side of the fence here. But there just might be a legitimate discussion of whether that combination works. The overreaction when Jefferson missed the Philadelphia game, 3rd game of the year, and we win, everyone's like, oh, so you got to get rid of it. Well, then we should be having the same reaction today against Paul, and we certainly shouldn't do that because that's not the right answer. But there might be something that, wait a sec, Jefferson's missed a few games. Paul's missed a game, and when they're not on the floor, the similar things are happening. The defense gets better. The ball moves more. Maybe there's if I say there's more camaraderie, you guys take that maybe a step too far. So I would, you understand. I think you understand what I'm saying, that there just seemed to be the way they played last night was different with the ball moving. Al had 5 assists. Even Ron Boone brought up the point last night on the broadcast of, well, we've always said that the ball doesn't move because Al doesn't move. Well, today everyone's moving without the ball, and suddenly Al's moving the ball. Is that somehow the way Houston defended him, or is it, you have to see things for a lot more than one game. But I thought it was interesting that Ron Boone brought up in the broadcast the idea that it's possible that the lack of ball movement with Al has been much a case of the other guys as it has been Al. Another fuel break right there. So that's worth looking at. And, I really still believe, I believed it at the time, that Tyrone made the right move on the first day of the year when he started Derek Favors and put Paul Millsap off the bench to have a different role on the team, and maybe a role that allows him to prosper more. I don't know how he ever gets back to it. I've said this a lot, and I actually think Ty believes it too. I actually kind of think that Ty thinks that that's the right thing to do too. But you're managing a team and you're managing personalities, and it would be very difficult for him to do that unless Paul somehow misses a few games and the Jazz really play better, and it becomes a just a non-issue that this is the obvious answer. But I'd be surprised with Miami and Dallas next that we were to see that in any. And I couldn't tell on the length of Paul's injury. I think it's a significant, but we also know Paul doesn't really believe any injuries are significant at all. Watson Earl Watson in his interview with Ben Bagley after the game, and make sure you always read Jazz Bags after every game. I've become completely addicted to the work Ben Bagley does after shoot around and after games. Fabulous work. He does it both on his Google Plus page as well as at 1320K fan. And you can catch Ben 1 to 3 and take all the calls today about why Jeremy Evans and Damari Carroll need to play more. Yes, that was tongue in cheek. But he talked about how Watson said that the whole key to the game defensively last night was that Al Jefferson was more vocal and that they communicated better. And I mean, very strange to hear these comments from Earl, but who usually has a pretty good pulse of what's going on with the team. And again, begs that same question of just is there some level where the fact that the whose team it is, Al's or Paul's, is so ill-defined when they're both on the floor that has somehow become an inhibitor to this team to play well. And then when you couple Al's personality, that he just simply wants to be liked so much, and has always, as he's admitted, I've always been the happy guy, the class clown, the guy who everyone wants to be around, the jovial one. That's who Paul is. I mean, that's who Al is. It's evident in every day. Sometimes you feel like you see it and you wonder, gosh, does he care if they win or lose? And then you take a step back and realize all the work he's put in, everything he's done. And so you realize he certainly does care about those things, but you also wonder a little bit on whether or not they're just that he wants to be liked. He doesn't want to step on the toes. He doesn't want to make an impact in that regard. So tune into Ben today, 1 to 3. He's got some interesting thoughts on that. And then the final thing before I jump out and get the kids and then plow the driveway this team is just, well, it's the rebounding issue with Jefferson and Millsap again. Gosh, this is more than I meant there, but it's been really helped with Josh Howard's rebounding last night was good. Alec Burks is a terrific rebounder, better on the offensive glass than the defense, but he can be a good defensive glass rebounder. And the wing rebounding is something that's going to be very, very important to this basketball team. Very, very important. And Josh Howard's brought that. Now, we get into a little funny game here again that we've been in all year when if Raja can come back on Friday, how does Tyrone work these minutes? Because that's going to be something tough to say because Burks just deserves to be on the floor, frankly. You could almost make an argument that the starters should become Alec Burks and Josh Howard, and that Raja and Gordon come off the bench, or Josh Howard's playing well, or the argument is that Alec Burks and Gordon Hayward should start, or the argument is that Josh Howard and Raja Bell should start. I think you could probably argue any combination of the four, that you should keep Josh Howard and Gordon Hayward starting and let Alec Burks and Raja Bell play on the team, and with Burks' playmaking ability might open up some threes for Raja. But how you're distributing those minutes is going to be very difficult once again. And that's where we've been all year. We're a team is completely even 1 through 11. We do not have a best player. There have been a different best player on every night. And when we play teams that have stars, i.e. Miami on Friday, and Dallas if Dirk plays on Saturday, it becomes very difficult for us to match that star late in games. And even a guy like DeMarcus Cousins, who's not a star but has just insane ability, we have a tough time matching. But when you play a team like Houston, who's really starless, last night we looked awfully, awfully good. All right, that wraps it up. Tip-off Friday. Miami's coming to town. There's nice ticket packages available on that one, and we don't play again until March 12th at home after that, and then Minnesota 15th and 17th, and Kevin Durant on the 20th, and Denver on the 23rd. There's a lot of good home games. Jimmer on the 30th. So good home games for all March. Hope to see you out at the arena. Thanks for your support on Tip-Off. I don't believe there'll be a podcast today unless PKI suddenly emerges out of nowhere. So make sure you go back and catch the old podcasts that have already been done this week. The Hometown Heroes on Monday. Ron Boone and I had a very good conversation on Tuesday. And then yesterday's with Kevin Pelton. Thanks so much.